Oh, they wearing out Brennan for canceling Halloween. The dumbest thing we spent money on was $25,000 for Brennan to cancel Halloween.
I love it.
We're talking roads and budgets, maybe drainage too. Then somebody brings up sports, and we're completely off cue. Raise a glass to freedom and the Bayou life. Welcome to the group chat, where the facts and fun collide. So strike up the band and let the good times begin. We've got questions from the people and opinions to spin. The stars and stripes are flying and the live stream light is green. It's the Group Chat Podcast. God bless this parish and these streets. It's the Group Chat Podcast, red, white, and loud, making the chat and America proud. Tonight we've got the Parish President in the chair. So we're acting professional for at least the first half hour
Good afternoon, good evening. We are live here. It is the Group Chat Podcast. We hope everybody's enjoying themselves on this Wednesday night. Casey Gisclair here. We got the boys in house. Nicholas is here. Damien is here. We got Mr. Baseball Bob Euchre in the house. We are enjoying ourselves. Tonight is going to be a big show. We've got Parish President Mitch Orgeron, who will be joining us in just, about 15, 20 minutes or so. He'll be hanging out with us. Tommy is not echoing. Counselor, how have you been, man? How was the trip to Florida?
From what I can remember, it was very hot, a lot of alcohol involved, and most of the rides are in the same places as they were in February.
Okay.
Happy late birthday, by the way. I got your quill, your ink, all ready to go whenever I see you again.
I am really looking forward to being able to use quill and ink for the first time in my 42 years of life.
Looking forward to that. Happy birthday, Tommy. As we said a second ago, we will have Parish President Orgeron in about 15 or so minutes. Just kind of set the scene for what we're going to be looking to get accomplished. There is going to be a millage renewal election coming up in June. And Coach Orgeron, Parish President Orgeron wants to get the verbiage out there and get the language out there of what this means if we vote yes, what it means if we vote no. There's going to be some people in our chat. There's going to be some people who are going to be watching that are for. There are going to be some people who are against. And that's okay. That's part of being an American. I think the most important thing is just listen and get the information and make an educated decision. And no matter what side of the fence you are on, I've heard so many times in the course of my, almost 40 years living in Lafourche Parish, man, I didn't even know there was an election. Well, that's because historically some of these propositions were just kind of slid on a ballot on an obscure election date. I do applaud parish government for getting it out there. Hey, we are having a vote on these props. This is what they are. Y'all turn out and either vote yes or no. I applaud their transparency and letting everybody know what's coming. And whether you are in favor or not, I think we could all say that we respect that transparency of letting everybody know, hey, here's the election, here's what we're voting on, and let's roll. Let the voters, cast their ballot as they can.
Here's what I like about this. First off, you mentioned education. I am all for learning. I am not a political guru by any stretch of imagination. Do I know a little bit? Sure. I educate myself when I'm voting. Prior to voting, probably 15 minutes prior to voting sometimes. But going there ready to go, knowing what I want and knowing the result that I'm looking for, I'm here for the education. And just to show that the transparency that President Orgeron, which is still weird to say, but nonetheless, when's the last time a parish president came on a podcast? You go from Tuesday, where our content of the day was 5 questions with Friesenburg, to the parish president. Like, we hit a lot of markets. So if you're looking for some advertising opportunities, probably hit us up.
Glad you said that, because that was one of the things that President Orgeron did recognize. And he said, hey, look, man, there's going to be a percentage of the parish that is going to vote every time. There's going to be a percentage of the parish that's going to vote none of the time. But he said, I do think that you guys have a unique audience, people around our age, moms, dads, and people that are starting families or have established families that want to know about this stuff. And I respect that he recognized that we do have that unique crowd and that unique audience, and it's the future of our parish that are frankly listening to a lot of what we have to say. Is the 30-somethings and the 40-somethings that are our primary target audience. And he and his team said, hey, look, that's a big part of the audience we want to reach. So we want to speak directly to those guys, and they understand the value in coming on our show. So I think that's pretty cool.
Good to have Nick back.
It's good to be back.
How have you been, brother?
Good. Just to let y'all know, I'll be going in a couple of weeks. We're going on a vacation.
You don't wait till
Believe it or
school
not.
starts to go?
No, Silas has a camp at MIT in Boston, and we're going to be out.
I'm trying to think.
Boston.
You always say you are an out of season, so summertime. You are going to what? Alaska? Yeah.
No. It's kind of warm, so we're actually going north where it's kind of cool. So
okay, y'all gonna have a good time in Boston.
Yeah, hopefully.
Austin or Boston?
Austin, Massachusetts.
Great movie. Great movie.
We were wondering why the flights and why the hotels and why the Airbnbs were so expensive. The World Cup is actually happening in Boston at the time we were going to be there.
Nick, you're going to be able to find you a little watering hole to go watch some games. It's going to be fun, dude.
Hopefully. I think France might be playing up there.
Okay.
In Boston or?
Yeah. In Foxborough, which is...
When does that start, boys? I know it's getting close.
The 13th of this month.
I looked at our group today, and look, I don't know a hill of beans about soccer, but I looked at our group, and what little I know, it feels like it's not that unfavorable for us to make it out of the group stage. I mean, would you agree with that?
I mean, it's supposed to be set up that way, being we're the host team, that we're the number one in that pool. I cannot confidently say that the Americans are going to make it out of the group. We always seem to get at least second place and make it out, but they could easily just shit the bed.
Counselor Bado, you're a soccer guy. Are we going to make it out of the group?
Unpopular opinion, I'm going to say no, just because I think our coach is checked out and already looking for his next job and looking forward to it. So I don't think he'll be as enthused.
He's going to E.D. White, coach soccer?
Would not be shocking with the shady shit that is pulled in Thibodeau, but I think he's a little overqualified to be in Lafourche Parish. Just my opinion.
Tommy, how long have you and I been friends?
I guess if you want to trace it back towards civilization, me 5th grade, you 6th-ish, maybe a little bit
I finally
before.
found something that triggers Tommy, and this is it. I don't know why, because there's been way worse, but this happens to trigger Tommy. Me and Nick met trigger Tommy.
We did.
How's your baseball team doing, Tommy?
Well, it got rained out today. But you see, y'all poking fun when people
There's no y'all. There's no
sitting
y'all.
people at that table. I think you're actually the one who came up with Mr. Baseball, Mr. Gisclair.
When did I come up with that?
You have people at this podium who are, is it podium, table, whatever you want to call it, who are just as involved, if not more involved than I am in a different sport. So what's the difference? But maybe if some of y'all would be as hands-on and care about the youth of baseball, you wouldn't be losing coaches to E.D. White. I'm going to just put that out there.
Dang.
Coming from the head boys basketball coach at John Curtis.
That's a little...
It's a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah, they just won the state title. Maybe let's cool the Jets on that one.
We are going to talk during the course of the show about the NBA Finals Game 1. And I want to ask y'all, because both teams were asked before the series started, what happens if it's a 1-point game with a minute left and the Knicks have the ball and they do what they do, which is Brunson get it, everybody get out the way, and the Spurs say, all right, Wemby, go get him. And we see a 6'1" guard go in isolation against a 7'4" center who plays like a guard. We have never seen that before. Brunson could get inside of him, maybe draw some fouls. But, bro, I am fascinated to see if we could get that matchup a couple of times, a couple of crunch time possessions where we might see a guy who's giving up 15 inches in height, going in isolation against a post player who's a freak like we've never seen before. I can't wait. I think this finals is going to be super exciting. I'm super jacked up about everything that's coming up.
It's two teams that play an exciting brand of basketball, not just throwing themselves on the ground and doing some really cool things. Got some star players as well. That always helps. It's funny that we could talk about it before it even happens, the fact that Wemby may guard Jalen Brunson, because we know in Crenshaw Jalen Brunson is not passing the ball to Cat, so it won't matter who's in the middle. He's just going to jack a shot up no matter what it is. If that's what happens, you're going to have to get Towns involved and have him rolling in the middle.
First and foremost, who you guys are rooting for? But here's the thing. I raised my hand. I don't really have a rooting interest either way. I just want to see a bunch of good basketball. I guess I would like to see the Knicks win just to kind of silence, that the little curse that they had. They haven't won it in forever. But it would be crazy to see a Spurs team that's going to be younger than LSU's team next year win the NBA championship also. I'm interested, and I don't really have a rooting interest. So do either of you guys or Tommy, are y'all rooting for anybody in this series?
I'm not rooting for anybody. If I were to say I was rooting for anybody, it would probably be the Knicks. I've always been a closet Knicks fan my whole life.
As you should be. It's your name.
Yeah, that we were Knicks and Biddy a couple times, and I thought I was like, my name's on the front and back of my shirt. I thought it was pretty cool.
Oh, Knickerbocker A-Bear.
I feel like when the Knicks are good, the NBA's good. And when the Knicks are bad, the NBA's, as long as OKC's on top, the NBA's going to suck. So I'm thankful that the Spurs beat them, but I think I'm rooting for the Knicks. I think the Spurs are going to win.
Can y'all imagine? Because, look, the Garden has been nuts this postseason. And let's say the Spurs are having to win a road game to keep the season alive. Let's say they're down 3-2 and it's game 6 in the Garden. How wild that place is going to be. Every former Knicks player ever is going to be there.
Not Charles Oakley.
The president's probably going to be there. He already announced he's going to game 3. It's going to be insane. And then that's going to motivate Wemby to try to start going crazy. And, imagine if this big alien drops 50 and 20 in a season-saving performance in the Garden. This dude's got a chance to go into the stratosphere if he could put together a performance like that.
I would like to see the numbers of the viewers of Game 7. I feel like he literally put the team on his back. Now, it's crazy that the entire series was, I guess, nailed shut by 2 offensive rebounds because people are trying to block shots. And just little hustle plays here and there by the Spurs made up for it. I was kind of a Wemby fan after maybe Game 4 or 5 of this series. And the dude's just a freak. And it's just somebody that is going to be special. We talked about it last Thursday about him possibly being one of the all-time greats. He's got the opportunity to win a championship young. I don't know what the odds are. I'm sure the Knicks are favored.
The Spurs are favored.
And have home court advantage.
I'm all about the Spurs in this one. I don't hate the Knicks. I'm not actively rooting against them, but I would love to see Wemby win a championship this early in his career.
Good deal. And to answer Damien's question, there were 15.9 million viewers of Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals, and it peaked at 22.2 million viewers. It says it was the most watched NBA game since 2019. Mr. President is in the house. First and foremost, we're super excited to have you on. And look, before we dive into part of the reason why we wanted to have you on, which is the millage renewals and everything, I got to ask you, this weekend, we are under a coastal flood advisory. Is there anything weather-wise that we need to know about before we get into the meat and potatoes of why you're here?
We can expect some heavy rains along the coast. That's what everything's been forecasted so far. Get your boots ready and just make sure all your catch basins and drainage areas are clean. That's what we always tell everybody. Make sure your beach balls and basketballs are picked up, footballs, so they don't get lodged in the culverts and the catch basins, your garbage cans. It's just going to be what we're used to, that we're going to have some low pressure off in the Gulf, but we're not expecting anything else other than some higher tides and some rain along the coast.
Mr. Orgeron, I'm going to ask you this, and this is going to sound like a foolish question to Ags, but I think it's going to make sense when you hear it out. Does early in the season, is it almost a benefit to get a little trial run like this, where it's not like a storm that's probably won't even be a named storm, but just to kind of get everybody's attention? Okay, it is hurricane season. Okay, I do have to pay attention to my trampoline, and I do have to cut these hedges and trim these branches, to kind of just get everybody into that mindset of it's not the spring anymore and hurricane season is here.
Absolutely. It's definitely something that is worth the trial run. We like to tell everybody, be ready. When Channel 6 was down at the port and we were visiting the other day, and that's exactly what I told them, is get your checklist done. Go ahead and check your pantry. Make sure you got some pod meat and some crackers, and if you have a generator and you've got your fuel ready to go, you've got, all of that ready. We've been through it so many different times, but just prepare is certainly something we need to do. I can tell you that we had a kickoff meeting back in mid-May, and all of the governmental folks are ready to go, whether it's the hospital, whether it's the port. They had their secondary meeting earlier this week. Even our fire stations, all our firefighting folks, police departments, everybody's already pitched in and said, hey, we've got everything mobilized. We're ready to go. We're ready to do what we need to do. We've got containers full of sandbags, for example, and we keep those containers ready to go all the time. So we're prepared, and good little rain is always a good thing considering how much of a drought we've had.
For sure, my friend. Look, let's talk about and get into the meat and potatoes of why we wanted to have you here. We do have some millage renewals that are coming up, 3 separate ones. And we have become a community that I think drew the line in the sand in the last election cycle, saying that it's going to be tough to get these things through. Now, you guys, through transparency, have explained, hey, this is what it is, and this is what it is. And if you vote yes, this happens. If you vote no, this happens. Kudos to you all for doing that. I think that's incredible. Let's talk about it. Why is it, Mr. Orgeron, that you think our parish needs to come together and vote yes on these 3 millages?
What I'd like to do is break up the 3 different millages and kind of explain how they're intertwined, but also why they're really important to the parish. The first one I like to take is what we call building and maintenance, or public buildings. We have 64 different structures that we have insurance on across the parish. And that could be as small as a concession stand, and it could be something as large as the Galliana Complex, the Matthews Complex. I want everybody else to understand is the parish is responsible for providing the court, the sheriff's office, the clerk of court's office, the assessor's office, the registrar of voters. Statutorily, it is state law that we provide those facilities with electricity, with running water, with air conditioning. That millage for building and maintenance is what funds those facilities. So that is how we keep the lights on, the water running. And in fact, while we have had to make repairs to these buildings and we borrowed money, and we'll get to that in a little bit, to make repairs, and FEMA's paying us back. We still had insurance that, of course, they didn't pay us, and we had to enter into the litigation, which we're still ongoing. So we haven't been paid back yet from our insurance. Eventually, after all of that settled out, we still have a 10% responsibility because FEMA doesn't pay 100%. So eventually, we got to pay that credit card back, and that also has to come out of public buildings. But in the meantime, we got to keep insurance on the facilities. We still have to operate. We still have to keep the court open. We still have to provide an office for the district attorney, for the clerk of court, etc. And those are critical functions of our government. If we look at it from a constitutional perspective, you've got the administrative branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. And for us, our responsibility is to provide the housing for the judicial branch. And this is one of the mechanisms that we keep that judicial branch running. There's another fund called the general fund that we do some other operations out of. That's how we pay the salaries for the judge's clerk and stuff like that. But to keep the building running, to keep the ACs on, and if there's any repairs that need to be made, any toilet that needs to be changed out, that all comes out of building and maintenance. Recreation, there's a parish-wide recreation millage, and that millage covers us for repairs and maintenance to boat launches, the recreation facilities around the parish. It doesn't matter if you're up in the northern part of the parish, Bayou Blue, Choctaw, Central Lafourche, South Lafourche. We utilize that across the entire parish. And like I said, boat launches as well. That isn't all what it's for. It's not just so we pay insurance out of that fund for the recreational insurance. Any improvements that's made, whether it's on a boat launch or out there, we help fund the part of that. But we also cover all the costs of the summer recreation programs. The summer employment comes out of there. We have employees and directors that work in each individual district. That is also how that's funded. And then if we have some sort of matching dollars that we need. And I'm going to use a good example, the LaRose boat launch, which is under construction. It's the most recent boat launch to go under construction. Lafourche Parish government put up $150,000. We want to get $200,000 in what we call Wallop Borough funding, which comes from the state. And the Greater Lafourche Port Commission put up another $150,000 for us to get that project going, because things have gone up significantly.
Sure.
And that's what we're using those dollars for in recreation. And then last but not least is the health unit. That's another item that the state says we need to provide health units in the parish. And we have one in Thibodaux and we have one in South Lafourche. The South Lafourche one was recently rebuilt. I'll explain why we did that in a second, but that is how we provide health services through the state. So the state operates the facility, but we pay for the people that's inside the facility through that millage. So if that millage was to fail, for example, we don't have the income to be able to pay the nurses and the specialists that are inside that facility, or to keep the lights on or that facility operating. And they do a lot of basic care, whether it's WIC services, female services, pregnancy care, but you also can go get your immunizations there, just like when as a kid. The state got away from that for a little while, but that's one of the things that they've gotten back to recently is that if you need immunizations, you need an updated tetanus shot, you don't have to go to your doctor. You can go there and you can get it for free. One of the other things is they do specialized treatments, and I'm going to give a good one because it comes from some of my offshore experience. If you work for certain oil companies, you have to do tuberculosis testing. And while it's a very, very rare disease in the United States, it occurs every now and then. And every now and then you'll have an employee, for some reason, shows up positive, whether they have an active case or not. And you don't go to any local physician for that treatment. You have to go to the health unit. And that's just a really good example of what specialized type care that the health unit provides. What I want to also emphasize is, and I talked about how the state has some requirements that we have to meet. We call those unfunded mandates. The state, over the years, has said that, and this is every parish, all 64 parishes across Louisiana, they have to provide for the court. They have to provide for the cost of inmates at the jail, and I'll talk about that a little bit further. And we have to provide all of that. And we also have to provide for the health unit.
Sure.
But they don't give us the funding for that. They said, you have to go get the funding. So we have to go and figure out ways to do that, and that's where we are. I'm going to give you a good example. The state says that the district attorney is paid with state funds, and the assistants and several of the folks in the district attorney's office is paid for with local funds. That's the unfunded mandate. That comes out of our general fund, and if there's any gaps, we have to backfill that with other general fund monies, whether it's our royalty fund or the like. And usually we have to backfill that to the tune of about $1 million because that's an item that we just don't have any direct revenue for. Again, whether it's building and maintenance, we have to provide those facilities. Otherwise, we get sued and we're in trouble. And then getting back to inmates, the state says that the sheriff is the keeper of the jail, but the parish is responsible for paying for the inmates that's in the jail, to clothe them, to feed them, and to maintain their health care. And we're responsible for maintaining the jail. Well, Lafourche used to own a jail, and then several years ago, the sheriff, and we needed a new jail. The jail was really old. The sheriff did a sales tax to construct a new jail. And he's done a beautiful job of getting a very fine facility in place, but the parish still has a responsibility to cover that inmate cost. Mm-hmm. Well, as a part of that cost, and it's about $18 to $19 per day per person that's in jail, there's a portion of insurance costs that comes out of that we have to pay for. There's the cost, some basic cost of operations. All of that comes out of the building and maintenance fund. The health care cost comes out of another public health fund that we have that's separate from the health unit. It's just another example of there's a lot of places that the money has to go, and it's not just within the parish coffer to be able to dig a ditch and stuff like that. These funds are dedicated, and they have to be used for those dedicated items, and we can't shy away from it.
Let me ask you this, my friend, and I think one of the things that, the average Jimmy Joe that's listening is going to want to know, if we vote no, how is this going to negatively change my life? You guys released a list of things that are going to happen. So for those who didn't see that, kind of let them know. If we go no, fail, what happens to the average family's life in Lafourche that'll make their life worse than it was before in your estimation?
The realistic answer is immediately we're going to have to go through the budget and immediately make some cuts. And that is going to include shutting some buildings down. Unfortunately, that means impacts to people who are trying to get civil matters completed. It can impact criminal matters and the number of personnel that are going to be available to make our judicial system work. The same thing with the assessor. Same thing with keeping the sheriff, his office open. That's on the building and maintenance side. In addition to that, from a recreational perspective, it's the same thing, to be able to keep the lights on at the recreational facilities. And there's some facilities that are leased. So if we don't make those lease payments, we would be in violation of our contract. And unless the property owner is gracious, they can go and pull the lease and that property becomes unavailable. But if we don't have the ability to pay the insurance for folks to be able to go to these facilities, then they're not even going to be available for use. And same thing with the health unit. Unless the state's willing to step up to the plate and they don't have the money to do it, we would be closing health units and people wouldn't be able to get critical health services. And I know folks are going to turn around and say, well, that's just doom and gloom. Unfortunately, that's the reality, because we don't carry a big fund balance. And people says, well, what's a fund balance? It's a rainy day fund. Hurricane Ida destroyed the rainy day fund that we've had. Building and maintenance used to have $1 million. I can tell you right now, building and maintenance is looking at about an $89,000 balance at the end of the year if we get our millage. If not, we don't have a month's worth of survival because of all the stuff we've had to do as a result of Hurricane Ida and not collecting from our insurance.
One thing that has been said, and it's been, I think, misinformation. One of your opponents in the last race has been talking on social media about an increase. There's no increase in these millages. This is not new taxes, correct?
This is not new taxes, and the rates that are being proposed is the same rates that were assessed in 2024 and 2025 after reassessment. I want to be clear on what was there. 10 years ago, in 2016, when these were authorized, the number was 0.02 mils lower. And if you want to compare that to now, then yes, there's effectively an increase. Why all of that occurred, and that's because taxes is really, really complicated. So what I would say is simply this. In 2020, prior to Hurricane Ida, and prior to really all the craziness with COVID and all of that, 1 mil generated $1 million in tax revenue. Today, it's less than that. It's about 18% lower. Okay? What does that mean? We went from having almost $1 billion of assessed value, $987 million of assessed value in the parish. It's gone down to 800 and something million. We've dropped almost 200. It's a little over $100 million. And then everybody's saying, well, geez, my taxes went up. Yes, because your assessment went up, not because we levied a higher rate.
Correct.
Now, when a reassessment occurred in 2024, because the total assessed value came down, the legislative order and the tax commission says, well, the rate is going to adjust because even though the parish is going to collect less money, it's supposed to be smoothed. In other words, if there's a tremendous increase in value across the parish, we don't see a significant increase in tax revenue because it's a fleecing of the taxpayers. The opposite also occurs. If there's a drop in taxable value, the rate is going to slide slightly so that we see a flat revenue. But even though there's still a decline, it's not as fast and significant. So what I like to tell everybody is we continue to see a precipitous decline. We're hoping to see that flatten out. But in the long run, by maintaining small business here and bringing more business into the parish, we can increase that. And then that's where we have that greater discussion, which I still want to do on tax reform so we can lower our millage rates. But quite honestly, for us to be able to get to that point, we need to get these millages passed so we have a stable fiscal footing, which is incredibly important, particularly for us to be able to, if there's any future bonding we got to do. And I'm going to be honest with you, there is. Because we borrowed $110 million to go do all the repairs. We're going to refinance that eventually. And we can't refinance anything if you don't have income. It's like not having a job and going to the bank to borrow money. So we have to have that to be able to go refinance it and lower the debt of the parish. That's one of the things that Mitch wants to do. I want to get rid of every ounce of debt that we can. But in order to do that, we have to have that stable form of revenue. I know that's a long answer, but it's the truth behind the matter.
Let me ask you this, and you and I talked about this privately before we hit record. Usually, sometimes these things are put on the ballot, 18 months before they're up for renewal, so that if it fails, there's a little time to try to pass it again. That's not the case this go-round. If this fails in June, we're kind of up a creek without a paddle before this expires.
Not kind of, we are.
Yeah.
In 2023 is when President Chasselon did tax reform. And when he was looking at all the forecast, there was some other taxes that needed to be renewed that came back up, the street lighting and whatnot, and that came up after. So he put those on the ballot. And he wanted to hold off so we didn't have constant renewals.
Sure.
Because and the public has said, well, it costs us some money. It does cost us a few dollars, but I can tell you that it costs us money no matter whether or not there's an election in some shape, form, or fashion. Because if there's a statewide election and there's some amendments on the ballot, we still got to pay for it anyway.
Yeah, sure.
So putting it on all at the same time usually makes sense. But I can tell you that it was indeed missed, and whenever I became president, and Archie made that comment on Facebook recently, but you do get two shots at it. And while the tax says it expired in 2025, it's a continuation.
Sure.
Which is the same thing as a renewal. It's semantics, and it could be put on at a later date, and that's why it says it's a tax continuation on the ballot. And the way taxes work for us is we get paid for 2025 in February 2026. And we live off of that money until the next February. So if this doesn't pass, it can't get levied at the end of this year, and we have no money to operate off of next year. That's effectively how that works. So that's why this is unfortunately a one-time shot, and it's one of the reasons why we are putting out the education piece. And quite frankly, I want everybody to understand that, yes, it is complicated. I want us to have a lower tax rate, too. I certainly know the impact that it has to businesses. I know how much I pay at home, and I want to take that burden off of our residents, our employees, honestly, because our employees pay taxes. I know everybody sitting here at the table does, and we know what it's like come Christmas, and you have to make that tax bill. But there are certain taxes that we need to be able to maintain those critical services. Right. And that's why we're asking for it. It's not being taken lightly by any means. And it is something that we need to provide those critical services.
Have you guys been able to do any type of polling or, the response that you're hearing, is there a legitimate concern from you guys' end that we could see failure in June on these millages?
There hasn't been any polling. Polling is incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
And the parish can't just go and pay for that. And quite frankly, I don't think the public would appreciate us going and pay money for a poll. There's been a lot of chatter on Facebook that vote no. And there's been images posted from other folks saying that it shouldn't be passed. And my comment to them is and I 100% understand that people are upset and don't want to pay as much tax as they pay. But to be able to get to the discussion for us to be able to lower taxes, we need to still be in a stable environment. And it not passing puts us in a very unstable environment, and it brings us back to the negotiating table from whether it's a financial discussion with financial advisors, a very disadvantage.
Yeah, it makes a whole lot of sense to me what you're saying, my friend. And look,
it increases our borrowing costs, quite honestly. Marcus, do a Facebook poll. Come on, cuz. We know how that one's going to go.
Right.
He shouted you out earlier for being on the first
inaugural soccer team.
Soccer team.
Yeah, we were. Absolutely. Yeah, 92. Yep. Go Tarpons.
We have some listener questions that were asked during the course of our preparation. One of the questions that was posed is involving the turfing of some of the fields in our area, because we've got a large recreation audience.
I remember seeing that question last night.
Yeah, so a lot of people were of the opinion or belief that one was going to be done a year. It's been more than a year since that's been done. So give us a little bit of an update of what we're looking at there.
So, yes, the intent was to do one a year. And in fact, we budgeted $165,000 to do 2 fields. That was put into the capital budget at the end of 2020 for the 2021 year. Ida hit. It didn't get constructed until 2022. And since then, we haven't turfed any fields. And that's what's generating the question. There was some comments made that we had taken some money for a fishing pier. I want everybody to understand that we spent the $165,000 to turf those 2 fields. The reason why we haven't turfed any more fields is because we've been having – our insurance costs doubled. I need to be just blunt. We had $65 million worth of insurance coverage across all of the parish in an aggregate policy. And they paid us right at $13 million 6 months after and then left. And we have over $30 million of insurance coverage. So that's why we're in litigation, first and foremost. Secondly, they reduced us down to $10 million and doubled our coverage. And municipal coverage is just as difficult as private property coverage. I know mine's doubled after the hurricane, and I'm sure everybody else's up here did too. So that ate a lot of our capacity. Right now, based on everything that we have to spend, and we have very few employees in recreation, by the way. Mm-hmm. In fact, in the office, we have 2 people. That's it. And one person's always on the road, going to locations. And Miss Jennifer, who is the rec manager, handles everything else in the office. And she does a tremendous job. And Miss Rachel's the one that's on the road, Miss Rachel Coppell. So we haven't had the money to be able to go and turf the fields. In fact, we've had minimal dollars. We used to help with support at other facilities, and we're not even doing that right now because we simply don't have the money because we collecting less. We used to collect $2.5 million. Right now, we're collecting $2.1. That $400,000 drop doesn't seem like a whole lot. It's $400,000, folks. It's a tremendous impact, and that's one of the reasons why. I will tell you that the Leeville Pier was 100% paid for by the bond, and we've been reimbursed by FEMA for that. And once all of this stuff is settled out, rec is still going to have a portion that we're going to have to pay towards that bond. Building and maintenance will have a small portion, right? And drainage will have a very small portion they're going to have to pay. Because those are the 3 buckets that we use that bond to go and repair stuff. So do we want to turf more fields across the parish? Absolutely. That is the end game. And the other big thing from a recreation perspective that I want everybody to know, the total cost to repair all of the parks around the parish was $30 million. The parish is responsible for 10% of that. FEMA does everything for this particular hurricane, that being Ida, at a 90-10 cost share. They pay for 90%, and we got to pay 10%. But the initial pay is 80%, and they're withholding that extra 10% before the closeout. Right now, we're stuck at 20% cost share, and it's sitting in the bond. Eventually, that's going to have to come out of recreation. So do the math. Eventually, we're going to be responsible for $3 million out of 30.
Yeah,
and we're going to stretch that over. Probably, you're going to refinance that over a decade. So, obviously, the goal is to be able to grow our base. That way, we can continue to do all the things that we want to do and make some improvements and chase some grant funds that are out there with the state, so we can make our tax dollars go further. And we've done that at some other locations, but we gotta get this passed so we can go and do that. We're seeing some potential reductions in insurance coming up next year, so that's going to free up some dollars. And those are all some things that we're working on. And again, we have to also reflect that, the boat launches were some significant repairs, but even still, like the LaRose boat launch didn't have anything from a Hurricane Ida perspective. And that's still $150,000. That was booked out of recreation 4 years ago. And we were working with the state to be able to get the additional funding so we can get it in place. And that takes time too.
Mr. Pete Melisson has a question. It says, Mitch, we know that our parish needs an overhaul in how we tax and spend. You were touching on that earlier. So we know, though, that we need to start ASAP. What kind of timeline are we looking at? And it sounded like, based on what you were saying earlier, step one of this is going to be passing these millages through, and then we could kind of focus on that down the road, right?
Pete has a very good question, and I'm really glad that he did ask that question. True tax reform is a 5 to 10 year process when we're going to look at it globally. A lot of folks is probably thinking, geez, Mitch, that's a long time. Well, let's look at it from a business perspective. Most businesses, you put together a 5-year plan and you execute on a 5-year basis, right?
Right.
That's quite frankly how I work. I worked in business for 20 years, worked in industry for 20 years. Everybody works off of a 5-year business plan. Hell, that's one of the first things we talk about in MBA class, right? We got to sit down and while we have some analysis, we got to look at the full picture. That's going to require a lot of stakeholder engagement because we don't want to leave anybody out. The first step is we sit down, we have initial discussions, and then once we get a plan together, and that's going to take 18 to 24 months, quite honestly, to develop what that picture truly looks like. And then you got to go to all the stakeholders. You got to go to the public to do it right. And then get it on the ballot in a way that they understand what it is that they're truly making a decision on. So there's a huge education component in there besides just going out and do it. So realistically, it's a long time horizon, and we have to have good, stable footing for us to be able to do that and be able to go to the public and say, hey, this is what you told us you wanted. This is what it looks like based on what you told us you want to do. We got to paint that picture to them and educate them. That way they can go and make the decision.
We'll talk about some other stuff with you here, but before we do that, I'm going to get you to look right into that camera. You're asking the public to kind of side with you guys on this and vote yes. Tell them in however long-winded or short-winded you want to be why we need to vote yes on these 3 millage renewals.
For us, it's about maintaining critical services across the parish. Day in, day out, if you go to the Galliana complex, the Matthews complex, and when I say Galliana complex, whether you're going to early vote, you may have a kid that is in Head Start, or even walk into the library. And look, the library does cover their stuff, but if there's a big item, we help them out. Our building as maintenance folks goes and help them. So it's all intertwined. So if you're going to those facilities, if you come to Matthews and you want to meet with Public Works or community action folks, You want to go and visit and get a permit, or if you have to go to Thibodeau for any particular reason, whether it's going to meet with the assessor, go to the clerk of court, meet with the district attorney, the sheriff's office, all of those facilities are funded by building and maintenance, and keeping those open are incredibly important to the very fabric of our governmental system and maintaining who we are as a parish. Recreation, boat launches, and our recreational facilities, not just for kids, but for everybody. We provide funding, and we worked with Councilman Lorraine, for example, to be able to send some recreational funding, albeit not a much. I'd love to send more for puzzles and other items. That way they have something to do. They also recreate on some of the other facilities. And I'm going to give you a good case in point. We have walking tracks across the parish.
Yeah.
We have a couple gyms across the parish where some of the elderly love to go and walk in the mornings. I know they do that in Lockport, for example. Again, recreation is really important. And then that third spoke in the wheel is public health. There are a lot of folks that may not have really good insurance. Some of us are very fortunate to have good insurance, but not everybody does. And that health unit provides those critical services to those folks, mothers, children, all adults alike. And look, even in South Lafourche, when we rebuilt that unit, we added our brief therapy center where we have licensed mental health providers where you can go confidentially and get 8 free sessions if you're in crisis, if you need to sit down and talk to somebody. All of that is provided at the health unit, and that is also at no charge to you. It is equal in criticality to keeping the pumps running if this was drainage.
Yeah, I think that's very well said.
A member of the group chat virtual audience has a question. Patton has a question. Mitch, can you explain further the effect of a no vote for recreation at leased and owned sites? What can that potentially do to lights at parks as well as maintenance of the properties?
Thank you, Patton, for asking. Look, Patton is one of the fabulous guys that helps take care of our stuff down in Rec District 3, down here in South Lafourche, and him and Desi do a fabulous job. Many of the sites here in South Lafourche, or pretty much all of them, are leased. And if we violated our lease, we lose access to those facilities. And so that's critical. And it's not just keeping the lights on or paying the insurance. It's actually keeping the lease on those. While we're talking about that, there has been some questions about rental of the ball fields.
I was going to ask that.
And I really want to address that. There's a certain thing called the Cabela's Doctrine. It occurred in 2006. It was a ruling by the Louisiana Supreme Court. And it stipulates that any government within Lafourche cannot give something without receiving a benefit in return. And it came out of a case where they did some stuff with the Cabela's up near Baton Rouge. Since then, the Attorney General has issued numerous rulings. There's legislative auditor reports, and then, of course, our legal advisor, who's the district attorney, enforces that doctrine, that law. Basically, what it states is if a league is charging people for utilizing the field that the parish maintains, then the league itself needs to pay a basic fee or provide something in kind for the use of the field. And so what we did was we met with all the rec groups, and we've gone through this, and the majority of the rec crews already have this in place. There's a few things we need to do down in here in Rec District 3, and I'm actively helping them get there. And there's been some questions about whether or not some of the stuff that they provide, doing some work on the field and all of that counts. And I will say, yes, it does. It just needs to be of equal value. And those are the things we're working through. So in some cases, there may not be any dollars exchange, but in the long run, we have to get a cooperative endeavor agreement in place, which is effectively a contract. It's required by the Attorney General and our legal advisor. They're going to review it and tell us, yes, you're in compliance, and go forth and do rec activities. So I wanted to really clarify. I know it may lead to some additional questions, and I'm open to that.
I just don't see the huge deal in it. It's basically checks and balances, in my opinion. I've been involved in youth sports for the last 20 years. Basically, you are having to give the information of the worth you're providing to the community and able to receive funds, which to me is fine. I don't see the huge deal about it.
Yeah, and for me, it's the same. I know that there were a lot of people concerned thinking that the parish was going to charge them tens of thousands of dollars to access the field. That's not the case. And if you go to Raceland, I think it's a nominal rate. It comes out to, I think it's like $1,500 a year or so. It might even be less than that. I don't want to speculate too much, but it's not a big amount. And if the actual rec department ran it, it's a little bit different. But look, there's a lot of leagues that want to do work where they're travel ball and all of that other good stuff. And in a lot of cases, they may donate equipment. They may do some additional work on the field. All of that gets captured in the cooperative endeavor agreement. And as long as what we're doing is not gratuitous, it's fine.
I just think it's a checks and balances system. The parish is getting out of it what they're giving.
Yes.
That's what I got out of it.
We have a question from Mr. Farrell. Is there any way an explanation of our local amendments could be explained in common sense and be posted at the polls? If you vote yes, this happens. If you vote no, this is what happens. I don't know if you guys could put that information at the polls, but it is on parish government's website, correct?
Correct. I cannot post that at the polls. There are a huge host of laws that's on it. But what we did post is equal to the PAR Louisiana, which lists what you maintain, what we do with those millages, and what goes away without them. And, of course, we talked about those today, but we have that on the parish page. We're going to continue to share those, and I encourage everybody to go and look at them.
I can tell you that is something that is on our agenda as well. So if you are not following us, go follow the group chat podcast DTB on any social media. We're going to go ahead and give our version of that, of what that may look like in the future as it gets closer to those times.
Good deal.
Wonderful.
Look, Mr. President, we got some other things that we'd love to chat with you about.
I'm an open book.
Yeah, hey, look. First and foremost, you were just about a month or so ago elected parish president. What's that been like? And talk me through election night, because look, here's how it was for me. I can tell you what it must have been like. I'm sorry, I can't tell what it must have been like for you. I'm on the Secretary of State website, and it's like 70% of the votes, and then boom, it updates, and it's all. And then it was a rush to the calculator to see, all right, is this a runoff? Is this not? Was that kind of the same thing for y'all at headquarters?
Yes, it was 100. It was 100%. Look, we had one poll that was ran, and it said as if we were in a 2-person race that we would have done very well.
Yeah.
And in fact, he gave us an estimate of what a 3-person race would look like, and quite frankly, the guy hit it on the nose. And when we saw the early vote come in, quite honestly, I wasn't looking. I couldn't. I didn't sleep for the 2 nights leading up to it, and that's usually not me. And this is the first time I've ever had my name on the ballot, and I've watched Archie go through it, and I've watched, Rep. Bagala go through it, and a couple of others. And I work going through the campaign, which can be grueling, by the way.
I'm sure.
And everybody. I even said, man, it's not that bad. You leave your house at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, sometimes earlier that if you go make a coffee club, have breakfast with folks, and then you get home at 10, midnight, and you do that for 6 months straight, 7 days a week.
That's pretty tough.
What's equally challenging is being parish president's a full-time job.
Yeah.
And if to do it right, it's a full-time job. And Archie really demonstrated that when he was parish president. And I'm a workaholic. And look, I was laying down in my bed at midnight last night looking at Attorney General opinions on Cabela's law, because I was reading a CEA and wanting to make sure that we were in compliance, right? And it's incumbent on me to know that. And so we were working on that, and I sent a note out to the team, and they started texting me at 6 o'clock this morning. Good grief, Mitch, do you ever sleep? And I say no. But being in the oil field for 20 years kind of does that to you, right?
We got to add them to our group chat. That
Yeah,
never stops.
Say,
Look, you're welcome to. I'd love it. I'm sure there's some shenanigans.
Oh yeah.
So I was ready for that part to come to an end, but I was very prepared for a runoff and to continue campaigning for an additional month. Everybody wanted me to have a watch party, and I says, "All right, we'll do it." And, there was a lot of people. I say a lot of people. We had about 50 people that wanted to come, and a lot of supporters, and we were really thankful for that. I got there probably around 5 o'clock and just sat in there with it being really, really quiet. And then WWL calls and says, hey, we want to come to your place. And I'm thinking to myself, want to come here? Then I started to get nervous. I had the heebie-jeebies, right?
I guess so.
And, WDSU calls, and they say they want to come. I'm like, man. All right. I'm all for doing the TV interview, but, I said, y'all probably going to be disappointed because we got a runoff tonight. And it was somewhat poetic, and I'm going to get a little emotional here. And I'm not a very emotional guy at all. I'll admit I had some nerves, and I didn't have a drink. I was drinking water and regular Coca-Cola just to, put some caffeine and some sugar in me. They're saying, hey, look, things are fixing to come in. So we had Deanna, our parish administrator, and Cody Blanchard, our campaign manager, that was sitting at a table constantly watching it. And I'm talking to some friends, and I know I'm digressing, but I got to share this. My wife and I went to school with a wonderful young lady. She's a woman my age. Her name is Amy. She's originally from Rhode Island. She came to Nichols and studied nursing, and she went back home. She's married to a professional firefighter from up there named Dave.
Okay.
And been to their wedding, and they've been completely enamored by watching the campaign. They're sold 100% on, and they want to move down here, by the way, when Dave retires. They want to leave Rhode Island, and they want to come down to Lafourche Parish because she loved Lafourche so much when she studied at Nichols. And on top of that, he loves it here. He loves to fish. He would make a crate implant. He's a firefighter instructor. Cool dude.
That's cool.
Anyway, Samantha tells me, that's my wife, she says, hey, Mitch, turn around. And I turn around, and there's Amy and Dave walking in. I had no idea.
That's really cool.
That Amy and Dave were flying in from Rhode Island. They flew in that day.
That's awesome.
Come to the campaign party. And look, we had some friends from Thibodeau that came, friends from down the by Central Lafourche. And they walked in. I gave them both a big hug, and I had tears in my eyes. I never expected to be here at this point in my life. I expected to run after Archie was done. And whenever they walked in, I'm like, and we still hadn't got a vote yet. I said, I think we're going to be okay. There's just something here.
Yeah.
And the vote came in, and it looked like, we're going to be in a runoff, and I was okay with that. And everybody kept on saying, yeah, but Mitch, we still got half the parish that didn't turn their the votes haven't dropped from Central, Bayou Blue, all of South Lafourche. And then, bam. They all dropped, and Cody says, Mitch, you got it. And WWL's staring at me, and they're still showing 48%. And I said, do the math. Because I'm not going and say anything on the TV until we know. So I went as far as Deanna comes up to me, and we're fixing to go live, and she says, no, Mitch, you got it. I gave her my phone, and I said, call Annette and make sure that there's no other mail-in vote, nothing.
No dimple chats. Huh?
No, I'm not that guy.
No busted water pipes or anything.
Exactly. And she calls him. She calls Annette, and Annette very calmly confirms, Mitch, that is correct. And then it was just like a big old weight was lifted off of you, and we took a moment. Gave my wife and daughter a big hug. She was probably the most excited because we have a cruise that we booked before all of this even started in a couple weeks, and so she jumped yelling, I'm going on a cruise!
Hey, yes, let's go.
13-year-old, gotta love it. And it was great. My mom and dad was really excited. My grandmother, who is now 89 years old, she just had her birthday. Happy birthday, Mo Helen! Called and was crying and saying how proud she was of me. And Representative Brian Fontenot said that when he won his election the first time, that it was like getting married and your first child being born. And it's pretty damn close.
I could see that.
I can't think of another feeling like it, but I have to tell you, there's also the weight of you got to govern. Now, granted, we've been doing it for the last 7 months, but the difference is now the people said, you're the guy. So we got to go and do it.
And talk to me about this. Most people in the position that you were in on that night know, all right, we got 4 years. You don't.
No.
You don't have that. You've got virtually a year to make an impression because you're going to be campaigning again very, very shortly.
This time next year.
Talk to me of what that is. Your timeline is a little accelerated. So mentally, you're a guy who processes all this stuff. What is that like where you don't have the full 4 years to earn their approval? You got 1 year to earn their approval.
That is indeed a challenge. I will tell you there's a lot of projects that we have in the pipeline that we've been talking about. And I'll quickly name them. Some of them we're stuck on FEMA, right? And now that FEMA is not shut down, we're making some progress. But,
right.
But one of the things I really want to bring up is some of the community development block grants that we've got in the wake of Hurricane Ida. And we've got really four big projects that I'm proud to talk about. In South Lafourche, we're going to start down here and work our way up. In South Lafourche, we have $12 million dedicated to building a new health clinic in La Rose for Our Lady to See Hospital. And before we get too far, our CDBG, Community Development Block Grant, has to be used for low to moderate income, and it has to be within a certain tract. It has to meet certain income guidelines. It's incredibly complicated. And there's very few places across the parish that meet that requirement. So when we were able to find that we had a tract and we had a customer base that this would work for, knowing that Lady to See needs a clinic in La Rose that is going to be 21st century, state-of-the-art, first class, and having heard the story from Lloyd and members of the board on them trying to raise money, at that time Archie was still president. He said, Mitch, you tell me what projects you want to do, and I'll tell you whether or not I'm good with them. So we listed the projects, and I went to them. Usually the projects are done for the parish. Mm-hmm. But what we did was we presented some projects that wasn't all for the parish. And this is one that wasn't for the parish. And he turned his head to the side, and he says, all right, now, so you got to sell me on this. I said, okay. And I explained to him why it was imperative that we do that in the South Lafourche community. We talked about the fact that we're going to have dentist offices in there because we're losing dentists in South Lafourche, and we need place for Medicare and Medicaid dentist care.
Yeah.
So we're going to have that there. We're going to have a drive-through pharmacy there, which is desperately needed in La Rose. They're going to have X-ray there. They're going to be almost a mini hospital.
I was about to say mini hospital,
but without all of the other critical stuff that they're not going to be an emergency room, but they're going to be able to do a lot. But on top of that, they're the only hospital in the region that has a speech therapy certification, and so we're going to have people coming from other parishes to La Rose for speech therapy. And I explained all of that to him, and he said, "Stop." I said, "Why?" He said, you got me sold. What's the next one? So we went on down the line. We went up the bayou, and we wanted to do something in the Raceland community. And we turfing some fields there. We were able to turf some fields there. That's the only tract of property that is in Raceland that allows us to do that. Originally, they wanted to flip the fields, but it wasn't enough money to be able to flip the fields and turf. So we got all brand new lights there. We're looking at putting some additional lights and turfing all the ball fields there.
That's awesome.
So that's really cool. And then we're gonna come up to Thibodaux, and one of the other things that we're doing there is in Thibodaux, the Head Starts are all in portable buildings. In South Lafourche, they're in the library, and I say the library, they're in our complex, and they have a state-of-the-art place to go to school. Those kids, and we added a fourth classroom. By the way, there was only 3 when we redid it. When we were talking to all the stakeholders, I went to Brooke, and I said, Brooke, how's our waiting list down the bayou? Because I know we always have a waiting list. And we talk about this every year after enrollment. And she says, that's usually where the biggest list is at.
Yeah.
I said, well, how you like the idea of having a classroom there? She said, can we? And I said, I'll make it happen. So we did that. And then the second question that I had was, do y'all use the library? And she said, we can't. I said, why? She tells me, well, security purposes. I'm like, well, you got to give me some more reasons than that. She says, well, because we got to leave the Head Start, walk all the way around the building, and we can't get the kids out of the secure perimeter. I said, well, what if we put a hallway connecting the Head Start with the library? She says, that'll work. All right. I picked up the phone and I called Laura, the library director, and I said, hey, Laura, I got an idea for you. She says, well, what's that? And I told her about putting the hallway. She says, you serious? We can do that? I said, yeah. She says, we'll do whatever special programs we got to accommodate. So this coming school year, we're going to have I got the frissons. I love this stuff so much, to be able to give an opportunity for those kids to go in the library, because they got so many cool things in there.
Of course, yeah.
They got games for them, educational games and all of that other good stuff for them to go and play with in the kids' corner. So we did that. So they have that in South Lafourche. In Thibodaux, they're all in portable buildings. They don't get exposed to anything like being in a regular classroom. So what we did was we took some dollars, the same amount of dollars we're sending here, we're sending up there, so $12 million. And we are going to build a Head Start and Community Center there, right across from the Heroes Park, where we're going to have 12 classrooms for those kids to be able to go to school there. It's going to be like a mini elementary school with a little cafeteria. There's also going to be a small library. It's going to be 18 by 18. It's going to be stocked with books from the public library. And the public library is going to have their own system in there, and the Head Start teachers will be able to assign books to the kids. And we took it one step further, and the library brings books to all the other Head Starts.
That's pretty cool.
Government working together. Isn't that amazing?
Cool. That's really
So those are some projects that we're working to get off the ground. We've got several others. And just to give a quick run through in South Lafourche, now this is going to take a little bit longer because we're dealing with FEMA, but we got $25 million from FEMA dedicated to the Rose locking structure. Right now it's just a floodgate. And if you go talk to Nick, he'll tell you about some of the issues that we're facing there, especially when you got higher water outside the system versus inside, and the issues it causes for flooding down in Golometa because the elevations, right? We dedicated, because we got X amount of dollars, we dedicated that to the lock. The state's put up some money through the Coastal Protection Restoration Authority. We've got $25 million dedicated to it. South Lafourche Levee District has money dedicated to it so that we can get that converted. It's about a $50 million project. So we've got half of the money dedicated to that. One of the other things that we committed to here in South Lafourche was building a safe room for all emergency responders to go for a hurricane. I'm sure we all remember the video of Lady to Sea Hospital roof flying off.
Ooh,
now,
yeah.
Lady to Sea's got an impeccable roof now. It's not going anywhere. But we still need a place for all of the emergency responders to go. So we have $7 million of Hurricane Zeta hazard mitigation funds that we have dedicated. And the idea is to build it near the airport where the airport connector bridge is for us to be able to house everybody there. So when I say emergency responders, port, sheriff, fire, I mean, I'm sure we all have heard the stories of the heroics that Devin and his group did in the wake of Hurricane Ida. So they all have a safe place to go, Levee District, to ride out the storm and then quickly deploy to hit the back road, to get to the port and that kind of thing. So those are the kinds of investments. We're working through design right now. We selected a design company. It's headed up by GFP Architecture and PCOLA and Grand Isle Shipyard. Those three folks won the bid to do the design work. And we got to do the design work. That's probably about 8 months to a year. Then we got to go back to FEMA to get approval to go to construction. So there's a process we're going through. It's slow and arduous, but our intentions are to do that. In addition to some of the other things, we talked about transparency. If you go on our page, and I want to say our page, our webpage, there's a transparency portal that you can click on and look at all of our finances down to how much each contractor was paid. It's all there. You can see the budget, the whole 9 yards. We have absolutely nothing to hide. It is 100% required that we put all that information out. I say it's required. The transparency portal is not a requirement. Let me say that. It is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I spend way too much time on there.
It's pretty interesting, isn't
is.
it?
You learn a lot.
And I can tell you it's about a week behind max. It updates once a Sunday, and it's straight out of our accounting system. We don't touch it. We use Munis, and believe it or not, Munis runs the transparency portal for us. So everything that you see there, we told them, hey, look, go and pull it, and this is the link. And they take care of it. We don't touch it. It's all automated. And then, of course, something new we put up there is our quarterly report. And I was on HTV a few weeks ago, and it was right after we won, and he said, hey, man, quarterly? Don't you think that's a bit aggressive? And I said, well, businesses, we look at everything quarterly. My intention is to take business practices and put it in government.
I was about to say, there's probably the business in you because I do way too many quarterly reports.
Absolutely. So if you go look at it, we want to grow it. We want to improve it. In fact, we're asking for some feedback, but you've got the number of recreational activities that occurred, and there's some actual improvements we need to make on that end because the numbers are lower than what they should be. We got the number of miles of grass that's been cut, the number of feet or miles of ditches that we've dug. All of that is in there, and we're going to update it on a quarterly basis. Why were we doing that? One of the things I wanted to do was start establishing a baseline. We have a work order system, and we're working to make improvements there. But if we don't know how we're performing, we really don't know where we're going, or can we set good goals and objectives. And if you working in business, you want to have SMART goals that's going to give you the layout on what you're going to do, right? You want it to be specific. You want it to be timely. You want it to be measurable. You want it to be articulate, right? You want it to be based according to the SMART process. And I see you shaking your head. You've clearly heard about it.
Yep.
So we're building the bandwidth right now. We're building the data. And then we're going to extrapolate that. After we got a year of data, we want to look at it on a rolling 12, quarter over quarter. That way we can see what our performance really is and then set goals. That way we can go to our field offices and say, okay, we dug 20 miles of ditches. This quarter we only dug 18. Well, that may be okay, but if we dropped all the way down to 15 miles, why? Well, we got 30 inches of rain. Right? But if we didn't, was it because we had a piece of equipment was down? All right, so where's the reliability issue? We could start looking at any other concerns that we have. Maybe the piece of equipment's too old and it's time to budget to replace it, which is also something that we're working on. So it gets us all the data that we need in the long run to run like a business. And that's where Mitch really wants to go.
I have one more political question for you. I know about it. Everybody here knows about it. Everybody in the parish knows about it. You're from down the bayou. There's this imaginary border in about Valentine or Lockport where it's almost like it becomes another parish. How do we get those two to become one? You know where I'm going with that.
I do. And, being born and raised in South Lafourche, and, I became a Yankee in 2014 when I moved 2.5 miles north of the Intercoastal. So I'm within that Valentine area. I can still call it South Lafourche. Hell, look, my wife teaches at South Lafourche High School. My daughter's going to South Lafourche next year. Good grief, she's going to be 14 years old. It's scary. But hey, go Catherine, because she's at Royals dance camp right now.
There you
I'm
go.
proud of her.
I didn't realize we had kids the same age.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I got an incoming freshman as well.
yeah,
So
yeah,
do I.
Yeah. I will tell you, we're more connected than we all realize.
Okay, good. That's good to hear.
We're bound by our faith. We're bound by our culture. And we all have the same desires for our people, for our families, for our kids, for our future. And I know that there's this rub, and I could tell you a lot. Having studied at Nichols and even worked in Thibodeau for Deere for a little while, and come back, our generation, particularly those that are in the northern part of the parish, don't look to the folks down the bay and go, That's not the case. In fact, they have tremendous respect for what we've accomplished over the generations and really, really who we are. And they love our food. Right? They love to come to Cherami's, and I brag about it all the time. Let's not forget Lafourche Landing either, right? Oof.
That's right.
Don't forget
Holy
Meemaws. You're going to make Casey angry.
That's
Meemaws
right.
too. All of it. Heck, I'll even talk about Jensen. They've got some good Japanese food down here.
Yes.
We have some, Mommy Joe's. Hell, my granny used to have a restaurant down here called the Country Kitchen right across the bay and up a little bit, if you remember that.
Very familiar.
And, oh, by the way, I know the secret to her fried chicken. We'll talk about that maybe on another podcast. It's top secret, but I'm willing to share it.
We got some food here today. We had 2 guys cooking most of the day today, so we got some. I don't know.
I would say
like
we
a
do
whole
have some
buffet
food over there. I don't know what
something.
that.
But we're more bound together than we are separated, and I think if we continue to look at what unites us as opposed to what separates us, you'll find that degree of separation is really, really small, and it's geographic, and that's the extent of it. And we'll use a couple good case in points. I've got a couple friends that have moved to various parts of the parish, and while their kids go to Central or Edie White, for example, they still bleed blue. They're still Tarpons, and their kids. What's weird with this whole younger generation with these things, they talk to each other.
Oh yeah, they're all friends now.
We were more separated as our generation going to school than they are. They're more united. Catherine has friends that go to Central. She's got some friends in Thibodaux. She danced with the Nutcracker out of the River Region Ballet a couple years in a row that she tried out and made it. And she's got some friends that are dancers and go to Destrehan High School that she texts on a routine basis. We didn't have that growing up. That was faux pas.
Yep.
In fact, you were licking the fest, right? So I think that is really also going to play a better role. And look, I could tell you as president, whenever we're making decisions, we're looking at the whole parish, and we want to make sure that we're servicing the whole parish. And look, I will tell you that we have some of those feelings, and Bayou Blue gets the same feeling, right? Because they're in a way kind of by themselves, and they want to be showed some love. The same thing with the Choctaw, Bayou Buff, Chack Bay community. They want to be able to feel some love. And look, it's every community, honestly, because you've got St. Charles in between Raceland and Thibodaux that'll say every now and then, we're in no man's land, and so on and so forth. But the thing we got to continue to remind ourselves is that we are Lafourche, and quite frankly, united we do stand.
Awesome. I like that answer. We got a game we want to play with you, but a question I just thought, and it just popped up. We are all night owls here. We are texting one another into the wee hours of the morning.
Sure.
When it is 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and the parish president can't sleep, but he doesn't feel like working, and are you a Netflix guy? We got like a Candy Crush app. Like what we doing to wind down? Just to stay sane. What are we doing?
I'm a huge history buff, so I've got it on the History Channel. I'm watching something about World War II, Rome. I love studying the Roman and Greek civilizations, the Egyptians. So I'm either reading something about that, or I'm watching something on TV, and then I'll break out my Kindle and read a business book or leadership book, something like that.
Okay.
We have to get him on the boxing sim game.
I was about ready to say he's spending his time way more productively than we are.
The parish would just go straight down if he's on that box.
Now, I will tell you, I've got this one thing with my daughter that takes us back to specifically our generation. I've got a original Nintendo, but the mini at home.
Hey now.
And her and I will play Mario 3. That's her favorite. I love the original Mario.
Yeah.
And on a rainy day, late in the evening, she's a night owl, I'm a night owl. We'll get on the sofa. And the thing I always wanted to do as a kid was have a big TV to play Mario on, right? And we were playing Mario on I had a little 13-inch Emerson TV that I'd sit right at and play, right? And of course your mom would don't sit too close to the TV.
Oh yes.
Well, Putty, I sit close to the TV and I got a 65-inch and it is freaking awesome. Now, so that is probably one of the other things I do.
You show her the tricks, like to get to the bonus worlds and everything, or does she have to learn that on her own?
Sometimes I show her a trick, sometimes I don't. So
She's got Google. She can figure it out.
well, that's the problem with today's world. Now, the one thing she hasn't played is I got Legend of Zelda, and that's for me.
Okay.
That's mine.
Never.
All right.
Me neither.
All right. I like Zelda through Jackson. I've gotten into.
Let's talk about the bridge situation.
Which one? The Carte Blanche Bridge?
Which one? We got the Carte Blanche Bridge that's been out, and for someone who lives in this neighborhood,
Absolutely.
it is
A pain in
terrible because my daughter goes to the dance work studio right
where my
across the
daughter
way.
dances.
100 feet away, but
Yep.
It's like we might as well just go to one in Homa because it's closer than having to go to hit one of the other bridges to get back to it. What's going on with this bridge?
Okay.
I see the swing arm things back.
Yep.
And I got to follow up to that.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
So the Carte Blanche Bridge was always a project that we wanted to get done. We had budgeted some money for. We bidded it out at the end of last year, and it came out at $1.7 million. We had $1.5 million budgeted. And so we had to reject the bid. But one of the things in the bid was it was to be turnkey, including the dry docking, which is different than what the other work that's got to occur there. And Councilman Lorraine kept on jabbing me. He says, Mitch, you got to dry dock that barge. I says, I came from the boat business. I know we got to dry dock the barge. I got you. But what we were doing was trying to figure out how we can do it cost effective. Well, the quote or the bid that we got, not a quote, full sealed bid, they wanted $500,000 to dry dock that barge. And having worked in the boat business, I knew that didn't cost that much money. In fact, it shouldn't have cost us no more than $200,000. So I went and started doing some research because obviously I'm a research hound. And as long as the two projects can be considered separate, we can do them separate. And so any project less than $250,000, you can get 3 quotes. Anything more than that, you got to publicly bid it. So knowing that the dry docking was less than $250,000, we worked with PCO and Associates. We pulled that part out because it's a completely separate process. Mm-hmm. It has nothing to do with all the electrical components we got to do and all of that other good stuff. And we bid the job just to do the bridge work itself, and then to do the barge. And I'm going to get to your point. I got to explain the whole process because we saved some money, a significant amount of money by doing this. We were able to get this done for just under $200,000. We ended up having a change order because we found some steel we needed to change, which was expected, including a wear plate. But Allied Shipyard in LaRose, so we had a Lafourche company do it.
That's cool.
Awesome.
Won the bid. We went and we got it done. Sage Contracting, who's the bridge contractor, they're a very good bridge contractor, is doing the other portion of the project, which includes some electrical swap out and changing the road deck. What you saw happen was they removed the original road deck and then moved the barge and went get it dry docked, and the barge came back. The part you can't see is we pulled the winch out, and that is completely getting refurbished as we speak. The winch is from 1943. So it is getting completely rebuilt. And so they got to completely machine all the parts. Now, it lasted that long.
Yeah, almost 100 years, 90 years approximately.
So there's been a little bit of work that's done to it, but the drum is getting rebuilt. All the bearings are getting remade in the old brass type so that we're going to have a winch that's going to last another 60 years. That is currently not in the bridge house, and we're changing all the electrical controls. In fact, you're going to see the contractor back doing some of the electrical work. The big piece that people are wondering about is the bridge deck. The bridge deck is being converted to grading. It used to be wood. Mm-hmm. The problem with it being wood is it wears out really fast.
Yeah.
It has a propensity to burn, as we remember from 15 years ago when the bridge caught on fire.
Yes.
So to be able to eliminate those hazards, we decided to go with grading. Well, it's not just your typical grading that you go buy anywhere. Yeah. It has to be manufactured. And because we have a saltwater environment here, yes, I know the bayou's fresh, but we do have a saltwater environment here. We have to get that grading built custom. That grading is coming out of Ohio. In fact, I had an email today saying that they're looking at a shipping date around the 15th. We were hoping for the 5th. The delay is they had to manufacture the grading. They're going to hot dip galvanize it up in Ohio, and then they're going to ship it down, and it's cut for purpose. We could have done it quicker and cut the grading here, but we would have been cutting grading with a torch on hot dip galvanized. First off, there's a hazard with that. Yes. Second off, do you really want torch cut edges that's going to rust like that on a brand new bridge? Mm-hmm. We much prefer do it right. And so we can't order the grading until the contract signed. And I can assure you the contract ordered the grading immediately. They're waiting on the grading to come in. And that's the whole reason for it. They had to rip everything up so they could pull true full field measurements. That way they can get the grading ordered, the whole 9 yards. So it is a contractor that's doing the work, that it being Sage Construction. They've done bridges before, and that's indeed where we are. We're waiting on that. You're going to see some activity at the bridge. We've got some personnel that's got to do some work on the bridge, and they're doing that. The contractor's going to be coming back and forth intermittently and doing some work. And then once the grading comes, they're going to hit it really, really hard, and they're going to be working on that bridge. The intent is to get it done mid-August. So right in the beginning.
Around school?
Yeah. And look, honestly, I would want it done sooner, right? But we want it done when we get into the heart of hurricane season, because our plans for hurricane season is we want the bridge working. That way people can cross and pass. And then once that's done, God forbid hopefully we don't have a hurricane season, knock on some wood.
Yes.
We tie the bridge open so you can survive the storm and then go back into service. So I know that's a long story, but that is indeed exactly what's going on. I can tell you that every day, Joe Piciola's group sends a text message to Mr. Sonny Crosby, our Public Works Director, and he turns around and he sends it to myself and Miss DeLynn, and turns around and says, hey, this is what's going on.
Good deal.
Couple questions, and one of them's a joke and one of them's not.
Okay.
The red light situation at that bridge.
Oh yeah,
is killing me.
Oh yeah,
it's killing me too.
Is there a thought out reason for that? Is that just something that's happening?
So that when the last power blink occurred, it flipped it back to that, and it's not the parish that controls those lights, it's DOTD.
Is that a serious answer?
Yes.
So if I don't stop there, it's the DOTD's fault.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, if you don't stop there, technically it's your fault because you're the one that didn't stop. So if you want to have the safety discussion.
We do have a lawyer part of the team.
Yeah. Well, come on. I know we always battle with Bado anyway. Better call Bado. That's what I'm talking about. That's my partner. But I could tell you as soon as, obviously, you see it, DeLynn sees it, a lot of times I pass on 308 when I come down the bayou because I hit the South Lafourche Bridge to go by my grandma's house because she's 107th Place. And so I don't see it as often. And when I went down the bayou earlier this week and I passed, I saw it still wasn't the case. So we sent DOTD an email again to go back and put it to flashing yellow because we wanted back flashing. Please. So we let the traffic pass. And I can promise you we're going to stay on top of them. We do have a good relation. They're slow. Nonetheless, but we do have a decent working relationship. So
DOTD, so it's Archie's fault.
Somebody tag
no.
Matthew.
No.
Go there.
I'm gonna have to take up for him there. So he does not fall under the Department of Transportation. He is actually separate under the Division of Administration. But what he does do is work with them, and if we got a problem that for some reason we can't get fixed, he tends to help. But I will tell you also, I can tell you that our secretary is originally from Thibodaux. He lives in Houma. And him and I is on a first-name basis. And one of the things that I heard a lot about during the campaign was, hey, when are we going to resurface some roads? And so we started meeting on a quarterly basis, and we were able to get that. And lo and behold, one of the things they were able to tell us is that, hey, we're going to be resurfacing LA1 from Larose to the South Lafourche Bridge this year. That's what all those white marks are on the road.
Oh, okay. So I didn't realize that.
And then next year, they're going to bid out the rest of it that's going to go from the South Lafourche Bridge to Golden Meta. So basically, in any time now, they're going to start some construction work. And it's gonna be aggravating people. I'm being honest. There's pain to progress, just like we got the traffic on 308 with Energy doing some metal poles. But we're gonna get LA1 resurfaced. So they're gonna address all of the road-based failures first. So they're gonna be changing some culverts. They're gonna be addressing some expansion joints, They're going to put some patches, and then they're going to come back, do a full mill, and double layer overlay is what it's going to be, a main course and a wear course. So I know that's a lot of information, but I figured we'd share it.
Very good to know.
That is good to know.
My other question as a joke. We have a really good listener that loves the bridge. Allegedly, he may work for the bridge.
Okay.
Maybe a tender. Once we get that bridge in place and cut off, you think maybe we could get him married on the bridge?
If he wants to get married on the bridge, we can make that happen.
Casey refuses to believe me that that's a possibility.
There's no way we can get him married on the bridge.
I mean, if it opens for a boat, we just do it while the bridge is open for a boat, right?
We can make it quick. I'm surprised he's not on tonight. Big fan of ours.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
We can figure something out, I'm sure.
You hear that, Kyle? We're making it happen.
All right. Good deal. It sounds like this is more realistic than what I once realized.
Gotta believe.
We can't make every dream happy, but we strive to make some dreams happy, right?
Nick's got something.
Yeah, I got a couple questions too. What is the dumbest thing we spend money on as a parish?
There's a couple things every now and then I scratch my head. We actually had to buy that.
What is the wildest thing anybody has ever called? As the parish president has called and complained about.
Casey, call him to come on this show.
Oh God, no! This is great. We've had some interesting ones. Most of it is usually something associated with their neighbor. Their neighbors.
I have the worst neighbors.
Their neighbor throwing trash in the yard and they won't clean it up is usually a challenging one. We had one where a neighbor had a business next door and would constantly call saying that that other neighbor was polluting the air, and they weren't.
They weren't.
So that was probably the weirdest one. And then one of the other interesting things I wanted to mention, the craziest phone call, I got a text from somebody. It's not the weirdest thing that we or the thing that we waste money on. Believe it or not, this is one of the weirdest calls. We had somebody that needed us to help them rescue 43 weenie dogs.
43?
Yes.
Infestation of weenie dogs?
He had an infestation of weenie dogs. They were breeding like crazy. He brought 5 to get fixed, and we fixed those, and he said he had a bunch more, but he doesn't know how many he had. We went and rescued 43 weenie dogs at this site.
Wow.
And we adopted every single one of them out. Not one of them was euthanized. It was an amazing thing. We have some really interesting calls that come in, whether it's about animals with the animal shelter. I have 2 dogs at home. I love my dogs. They are wonderful. We've got some cats in the neighborhood that are community cats. But we run into some challenges sometimes where you got one neighbor that, doesn't like the cat and the other neighbor likes the cat. And that was probably one of the weirdest phone calls, I have to admit, is the 43 weenie dogs.
A member of the group chat virtual audience has a question. Mr. Cody asks, Mr. Parish President, what are your thoughts on cracked crab in gumbo? Do you go full crab? Do you go quarter crab? Just the claws? What's your go-to?
This is important to our friend group.
Man, you got to put cracked crab in that.
All right. So
you got to get the flavor. Come on now.
It's a huge debate in our friend group.
Cracked crab.
Okay. You just made a lot of people happy and a lot of people pissed off.
Oh, well. That's what you get for being parish president.
That's right.
We got a request for our parish president to come to Blue Boot on July 9th, and we also have a request for him to come fishing with us during that.
So the answer on the Blue Boot is I plan on doing a sponsorship from the campaign, even though the election's over. And secondly, no, I do want to go. I plan on being down. I'm probably not staying on the island because, 1, I don't have a camp, and 2, it's not a very far drive. But I plan on being down there and enjoying it. It's for an amazing cause. Just like what it is for.
Corey in the chat mentions that if our president does attend the Blue Boot Rodeo, that he would be the first one to do so.
Be the first president to go? You mean the parish president hadn't gone before?
Come on.
Oh, come on.
Corey would know. Yeah.
I'm gonna be there.
Archie.
And you know what? We're gonna have a shirt waiting for you too, Mr. President.
Try to get him to come fishing.
All right, we'll do that.
Speaking of shirts, you have 2 shirts: a group chat podcast and a DTV clothing.
Hey,
shirt.
look. So I got some more of these from my friends up here, and I didn't realize we were gonna. I would have brought a couple more. And I'll
Tommy
make sure.
doesn't need one.
No, but I only got 2. I thought it was just y'all 2. I didn't realize he was going to be here.
2 of us fish, 2 of us don't.
So, well, I got in the midst of the campaign, I got some Four Horsemen corks made with my Parish President logo on it.
That's better than some hot sauce, bro. Thank you, man.
And then, everybody's got to have some coffee. So I figured, and I'll make sure I'll get one for you.
I'm 1,000% a cup
We've
guy.
got
Oh, yes.
Gator Cup.
Oh, yes.
and a Lafourche Parish company.
Thank you.
We support local. And, of course, everybody knows that Four Horsemen corks are made locally as well. So I'm big about supporting local, and I don't know if you can see that, but we can take it out. And I made sure that we got the right Four Horsemen cork. We got the professional so that, it goes back, it doesn't bend over, stay bent over, and, it says, Mitch Orgeron, Lafourche Parish President on it. Can't beat a Four Horseman, so got those favors we like to hand out, and I certainly
brother.
like you guys to have them. And we were talking about going fishing. There's a couple things I love to do, and I don't hunt a whole lot because it's an expensive pleasure. So I fish, which is the other expensive pleasure.
I was about to say.
And the other thing I absolutely love to do, and I know it's a little bit of levity here, but it's something that I really want to share. And in the last debate we did, they asked me where was my favorite place to go in Lafourche Parish, and I don't know if y'all recall that was my answer. And I mentioned Ma Helen's birthday is this week, and happy birthday to Ma. She's 89 years old, and she lost her husband, my grandfather, who was the person that taught me. I have a wonderful mother and father. Mm-hmm. Who did a fabulous job raising me. But my grandfather is the person that taught me to work. He's a person that taught me the value of $1. And he's the person that made me who I am today. Taught me how to fish. Taught me how to hunt. Taught me the love for family. It taught me how to cook. Although it runs on both sides of the family. And he just always talked so much, and there's my dad calling, talked so much about how important family is. And before he passed away, and he knew eventually he was going to go, and he always told us, no matter what you do, take care of, after I'm gone, I want you to take care of your grandma. That's your job. And I'm the oldest of all the grandkids. And so I've always been around, and when he had his little lugger and we went trolling, he was the one that I would go with and all of that. And I promised him that my uncle and I will take care of Mo Helen. Now, she's got a nickname. It's Big H. Also the boss. And, man, I'll tell you what. My uncle and I will talk, and you'd swear we're an Italian mob of making some sort of hit. Because we're talking about meeting at Big H's house, and the boss wants X, right? And but that is indeed my favorite place to go, and it's because I get to remind myself of how much, honest and truly, I love my grandmother and my grandfather. He was a prolific carver, and I inherited his carving tools. I haven't taken any lessons yet, but I plan on doing it with Mr. Carl Danos, who used to carve with my grandfather. And he's got a wonderful collection of ducks, that being my grandfather. And then I know
a guy for that, by the way.
You do?
Yeah, my family. The Brunays. Really? The Brunays.
Yes, they are very good as well. Very Tan Brunet and that gang, very, very prolific carvers as well. And in fact, I have all of his Tupelo in the attic at my house. And the attic I got spray foam insulation in the attic so it doesn't get too hot so the wood don't go bad. That's a hobby I want to learn eventually, to carry on the tradition that my grandfather did. And really cool. I got the love for it. I got the eye for it. I can see things in a duck that my grandpa taught me to look for that nobody else will see unless you happen to be a carver or painter. But I'm digressing a little bit, but I love to cook. So every Sunday that we have a chance, and I'm telling you right now, I love to fish. And I don't care if I catch a fish or not. I just got to be on the water because that's the family genes. My grandfather used to be an oysterman back in the day. Quit the 7th grade to go and be an oysterman. Self-made man. But we get together every Sunday and we cook. So this past Sunday, we had a chicken fricassee. Honestly, I don't know what we're cooking yet this Sunday. But I'm due to cook a pot of white beans.
Hey.
So it's probably going to be white beans and maybe some fried shrimp. Every now and then we'll throw a ringer in there. We'll go get a muffalata because she'll like that, or we'll have a pizza. But 99% of the time we're cooking some sort of spaghetti, a fricassee, a roast, a rôti. That's what it is. I just remembered. We're doing some rôti pork and some peas in a roux. That's what we're doing this coming weekend.
I've never had that.
Oh,
But
that's good. Yeah.
That
I've seen
rôti pork?
I've seen rôti pork, not the pea.
The peas in a roux. Oh man, it's fabulous.
Slayer cooks that.
Fabulous. But the reason why I want to share that with you is I love to hang out and play games and chill and chat and talk about all the things that makes us who we are. During the campaign, I'd always take time to go see my grandmother because she's got some days that she doesn't necessarily remember everything, but she would ask for me and I'd go see her. And I missed a couple events during the campaign because she called, or her sitter called and said, "Hey, Grandma's asking for you." And I'd go and spend some time with her because she's just a wonderful person. You know, I got an incredible soft spot for her, and I had the pleasure of having great grandparents when I was younger, and knowing that I go see her means my daughter gets to spend time with her great grandmother, and she's had the opportunity to spend 13 3/4 years with Mo Helen and 10 years with Papa. And that foundation is really who we are.
Yeah, absolutely.
As Cajuns. That's who we are as Lafourche residents. And that was why it was one of the cornerstones of our campaign, is that keeping our culture.
Yeah.
So I wanted to share that with you.
A commenter asked you to give some thoughts on the library situation. Their millage renewal did not go through.
Right.
You're working with them, I'm sure, on a day-to-day basis. What are your thoughts there on that?
Just like I said with these taxes, we need to do a full-on tax reform look. And to get to that, we really do need to pass those millages and keep our libraries operating as they are, and then sit down and do that full assessment on what a change would look like. And I know that there's a lot of questions, and people look at the fund balance. And yeah, they used to before Hurricane Ida, have $12 million in the bank. I can tell you right now, they're sitting on right around 7 and some change, almost 8. But here's the thing. That is 1 year's worth of savings. They've made some cutbacks as a result of it failing so they can stretch out their dollars as much as possible, which is the right, prudent thing to do.
Sure.
Right? But if we're going to have a broader conversation, it's best if we do it with our current funding structure in place and then say, from here, here's the proposals based on the feedback that you gave us, Mr. Public, and this is what it looks like if we make these changes. Because at the current funding level, we provide this to you. If we reduce that funding level by X percentage, there are some things that we have to give up, whether it's personnel related, and which results in a change in service. And there are certain things that there are unfunded mandates we have to fund. And there's some areas we can't cut. One of the things I also want to mention when we talk about taxes, property taxes in particular, Lafourche Parish government levies 27 mills of taxes. That's 22% of the total taxes you pay, equates to $21 million that we collect in property taxes alone. That's only 22%. And we provide all the drainage, health units, recreation, government buildings, emergency matters. We have to operate a permits department. That's another state requirement because we have to do these inspections, by the way.
Sure.
All of that, all the services that are required for us to operate, including the libraries, right? Now, the libraries is not in that. You add it to the libraries, it goes up a little bit. And libraries would go up by $6 million, so that would put us at 32, if my math is right, 33. And it's 7 mills we go up. So anyway, that's roughly where that goes. But the point I'm making is, if you look at the percentages, and it's in the assessor's report. This isn't no secret. 43 or 44% of what we pay out of our property tax goes to the school district. Also, right? They got a lot of facilities they got to keep operating so we can keep our schools open. They have 1,200 employees. And we always talking about how important it is to pay for our not only our children's education, but also our teachers. And I will admit, my wife is a teacher, and I'm friends with a number of educators. I've got a couple of educators that live in our neighborhood. Shout out to Andre Adams and his wife, Christy. Both of them are tremendous people and earn every penny for what it is that they do. So those millages are important too. Is there some potential for some consolidation? Those are the things that we got to discuss. And what does consolidation look like, and what is that result? And that's the honest conversation we need to have, not only with ourselves, but also with the public. Because we know that the public has an expectation that they want to pay less in taxes. But coming with that is also there would be some reduction in services, potential buildings, et cetera, right? So those are the things that we got to talk about and look at where we can have some efficiencies. Are there some potentials? We did do that when we did tax reform. We did lower the rate by a couple mils on the drainage side. Now, I know people are going to say, and I have to bring this up, even though I digress. They say, well, my taxes went up. The millage overall rate went down. The reason why the taxes went up was because of reassessment, and the value of your house went up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's the biggest thing that I want to be clear. It's difficult when you first look at it to wrap your mind around it. You have to break it down into parts. You would have paid more if we had not done tax reform than with tax reform, right? So, and case in point, while we're on that item, and we're going to be putting some numbers out here in not too long, the taxes that we are asking for folks to pass, that is the health unit, the recreation, and the buildings and maintenance. If you have a $100,000 house and you're homestead exempt, you're paying $12.55 for those three millages.
Combined, all three of those?
All three of those combined add up to a total of 5.02 mils. That is $12.55 if your house is valued at $100,000 and you have the $75,000 homestead exemption, which if you're going to have an homestead exemption.
Yeah.
If your house is $200,000 value, homestead exemption applied, it's $62.75. That's how much you're paying.
A year.
And for recreation, building and maintenance, and the health unit. And last but not least, if your house is valued at $300,000, you've got your $75,000 homestead exemption, you pay $112.95 for those three millages.
Mitch, that's a Netflix subscription.
Yes, sir. We can go on and look at what the total millage rate for all of Lafourche Parish is, but the three items we're asking people to pass, if you have a $300,000 house, it's $112 for the year.
I think that's what people need to hear, because I feel like the public is skeptical of government and especially taxes.
Right.
So if we had better communication and we had the thing you were talking about with the transparency thing on the website, I think people need to really check that out, because when we go to vote and it's like you read this and you have to read it 3 or 4 times before you really understand what you're actually voting for. If I think it's a good thing, do I vote yes? Do I vote no?
Yeah, a lot of people know what they're looking for, but they don't even know how to vote based on what they're looking for.
So I feel like better communication and like clearer explanation of what is actually going on with these millages and these like the things the amendments that you're voting on. I think that would help out tremendously.
That's what Mitch and I discussed last week when we talked on the phone a good bit.
Exactly.
I'm not a political guru, and I don't know if anybody at this table is, and if you are, I apologize.
Oh, no.
I'll admit I'm not even a political guru.
Aside from the parish president at the end, but that's what the real folks of Lafourche Parish want to know. What are we paying, and what are we getting? And if we don't pass this, what's going to happen? So, Mitch, I guess another question. I know right now the whole – most of the parish, obviously, because they got voted down, but everybody's talking about no on everything. We want to change some stuff up. What's your biggest message to those folks that are I'm no to everything right now?
Educate yourself on what it is you're truly saying no to, and realize that if you say no to that, you're looking at critical services like the judicial system not operating. And it's going to have to come back. And then on top of all of it, if you think you're saving or reducing your taxes by 50%, you're really not. You know, we just talked about the numbers. And honestly, you made the comment about flyers. I can tell you that we've put some out. We've put out a one-pager, and we're going to be releasing one-pagers on each individual millage, and it all lays out what a vote yes and a vote no means, just specifically what you're talking about. We have that. It's going to come out on our Facebook page. We're certainly going to be sharing with everybody. I would tell you to be on the lookout for that. The numbers I just described, we're going to be putting that graphic out as well. We did one big video, and I know some people says, well, you were just sitting at your desk. That was the original message. We want everybody to understand that we see that as serious, and that's why we did it at the desk. But we're going to do some additional videos addressing a couple questions that have come up and what these are about. Kind of like what we did here, but just and drop it on our Facebook page so folks can hear that information and people get to see what the true impact is. And like you said, yes, it is the cost of a Netflix subscription.
When you explain it like that, I think it just helps so many people rationalize, like, hey, this is not really putting me out like I think that it is going to.
And look, I will tell you, that's just like drainage. We levy 8 mills in drainage, right? So those numbers I just read off to you, if you got a $100,000 house, you're basically paying $16 for drainage. And to put that in perspective, so you're going to pay $200 in drainage if you got a $300,000 house. Guess how much our fuel bill was for just South Lafourche last week?
I couldn't even imagine. With the price of fuel, I couldn't even imagine.
18,000 gallons. $89,000. Wow.
Yeah.
That was for 4 days of rainfall. We spend $2 million a year in fuel, anywhere between $2 and $3 million a year in fuel alone. So, and that, look, I'll be honest with you, that's our biggest expense. The next biggest expense is employment cost, and we need the people to be able to go and run the equipment.
Yeah, that's incredible. Are you ready to play a game with us?
Let's do it.
Yesterday we dropped our 5-question segment. Our first one was with Freezer Burnt, which is one of our viral sensations on the bayou, some Central Lafourche area. I'm not sure if you're familiar with what he does. So it's 5 questions. I'm going to softball you a couple, and then
okay.
We might. It's all in jest, but nonetheless, good stuff. What is the most embarrassing song on your playlist?
Pink Pony Club.
No, that one's not in there. Probably Chandelier by Sia. Of course, because of my daughter, but it's definitely in there.
I'm not familiar with that one. I'm going to have to go look that
up. Oh, it's embarrassing.
Would you rather lose your boat keys or your truck keys?
Truck keys all day long.
You disagree?
Nightmare. That's a nightmare, losing your truck keys.
I feel like everybody has an app.
Yes, I could start my vehicle without keys. That's.
Would you rather never eat boiled crawfish again or never eat gumbo again?
Ball crawfish. I can't give up gumbo.
I'm the opposite.
See, that's such a hard question.
It is. It's difficult.
And look, I'm going to piggyback. Chicken, sausage, okra, seafood. What's your ideal go-to gumbo?
If I have to rank them 1, 2, and 3, it would be duck and andouille.
Okay.
Number 1, chicken and sausage, seafood, and okra.
Okay.
If I got to rank them.
We need to make a gumbo pyramid.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just like my own duck and andouille sausage gumbo. But look, any gumbo, it got to sit in the refrigerator for 3 days after you cook it.
I'm with you
The
there.
flavor just gets better. Number 4, would you rather be the referee of a Central Lafourche versus South Lafourche game, we'll call it a football game, or moderate a Facebook political debate?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I'm moderating a Facebook political debate.
Probably get less trash talk on that one.
The only way I can be the referee is if I can throw the flags against Central every time.
Hey!
There we go. All right, number 5. Who has a better chance of becoming parish president, Casey, Damien, or Nick?
Probably Damien.
Hey.
Oh, no.
I wouldn't vote for him.
I like it. You wouldn't vote for me?
I would vote for him.
Yeah, you'd vote for me.
Yeah, I would vote for Damien, too.
It'd be like 3 people.
I'd vote for Damien.
You ready, Nick?
Yeah, Mitch, I don't know if you know what a blind ranking is.
Oh, we're playing this too, or just him?
Yes, we're all playing this blind ranking.
Okay.
I have a list of 10 things, and you have to blindly rank them as they're said.
10.
So if I say something, you say 6. So that would be the 6th thing on your list.
Okay.
So you don't know what's coming. You could be saving that number 1 for something good, and it never comes.
And it ends up being something terrible, like
So-
Campbell Wells pollution.
So the funny thing about this game is Nick has the list and he still plays.
Yeah, it's completely corrupt.
It's collusion.
That's awesome.
It's collusion.
Okay, so just to let you know, the topic that we are blind ranking is things every Cajun man claims he's good at.
We do have the counselor on the line.
Mr. Baseball.
Mr. Baseball. Triggered Mr.
Tommy, you with us, bro?
I am here.
All right, good deal.
Tommy's a big crack crab fan in this gumbo. Shout out Mr. Cody Sanamo, Mr. Jacob Jaro for cooking for us today.
Absolutely.
We'll take a break.
It smelled really good whenever we
President
walked
does.
up.
The first thing we are blind ranking in things every Cajun man claims he's good at. Backing a boat trailer. And you tell me 1 through 10, I'll put it on your list, and that number is taken. Backing a boat trailer.
Number 3, because that's high on
That's
the list.
high.
4.
Tommy, you got an answer?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with 4.
You're going to be the first ever public official to play this game on Facebook Live, by the way.
Whoa.
And I love that.
I'm going to go with 3. I feel like that's a huge deal in our culture, being able to do that.
I'll actually sit. Should I sit this out or should I play?
Play.
Always play.
Absolutely.
Play. Screw it.
I'll say 5 on backing a boat trailer.
Okay, so they got a bunch
Oh,
of good
Lord.
stuff. They got a bunch of good stuff on the list. That's what that tells
Okay.
us.
If there's no collusion in the game,
Number 2 is cooking a gumbo.
that's a good list.
Thank you, Damien.
It's a good start, yeah.
I'm going to go with 2. I'm going up there. I feel like cooking anything in general in our culture is huge.
I'm going with 1 on that one.
Okay, that's a good one to use as your number
Yeah,
one.
That's
It's
my
safe,
number 1.
Very, very safe to take that as your number 1.
Yeah, there's a strategy involved. If you leave that number 1 open too much,
You could get stuck badly.
baked beans.
Just ask Tommy, yes.
Easy, easy.
I'm going to go with number 2 for
Tommy's
gumbo.
going to have to get his shoes out if you don't stop.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
I'm
go
going with
number
number
2.
2.
Yeah, number 2 also.
Casey and Tommy got 2.
Get the Air Jordans back out.
So we have catching fish.
Oh my goodness.
Bro, coming out. Home
Dang,
run.
coming out the gate hard.
Yeah, man.
2.
Yeah, his list is set up. He's got a good 1 and 2. I'm gonna go 4. I'm gonna save my number 1. I'm gonna roll the dice.
Me too. I'm going right there, which I'm going number 4.
I'm going 1.
Damn, that is a number 1 thing for Tom.
And
Go with number
Strawberries.
4 on that one. Next thing is fixing stuff around the house.
I'm going 9.
Dang.
Wow.
I feel like you could pay somebody.
So at my house, like Big Steve he wants to fix that. He wants to rebuild your cabana or your
He's
swim
more
pool.
than welcome to go.
I'm gonna go 7.
By the way, Casey's dad, Big Steve, I don't monitor Casey's phone, but he has an iPad right in front of him. And I saw Dad
Oh, yeah,
come
Big
up,
Steve
and
was
I
fun.
grabbed the phone wire to plug in. That would have been good stuff.
I guess I'm going to go with 8.
Y'all not big on fixing stuff around the house. huh?
Oh man,
Nick's
It's
wife's
it's
calling
what
him
they
out.
brag about.
Yeah.
I hate doing that.
that's what I'm saying. You're right.
We had we have a little thing where we hang our keys on, and it was held up to not put a screw in the wall. We had the command strips.
Yeah,
Probably a bad idea.
I'm
Oh,
gonna go with 8. I'm gonna say
And-
8 because most dudes do it, but they don't brag about it.
No big deal, but I fixed that the other day.
Look at
Not
you.
bragging or anything, but I fixed that myself.
go ahead, man.
Yeah. So I'm going to go fixing stuff, number 6.
No, I don't feel bad. My wife has been after me to hang a picture on the wall for the last 4 months. I guess I'm going to finally do it now.
That's right.
Shout out
I'm
Charles
going to take
Plays.
care of you, babe.
What we got, Tommy?
8.
He said 8. Yeah.
Shout out Charles Plays on who comes fix a lot of my stuff here. Father-in-law, love him.
Hey, man, you can't beat a father-in-law.
Mr. Charles is the guy.
I definitely agree with that. Okay, next thing we have is knowing a guy who can get things done.
That is number
1. Number 1. Big Steve is a guy for everything.
I have a guy for everything. I love it.
I say 5.
Speaking of guy, I know we're getting off on a tangent here, but did you see the whole theory about Guy Fieri never eating in Donner's Drive-In?
No, that is not true.
There's a whole
He
TikTok
just
thing on it.
he does this whole thing where hey, look over there, and he picks food and he eats it.
Yeah, but then the
Is that one of the Mandela effects?
the camera stops and it goes somewhere else.
Yeah.
No. He does the hunch the burger. He gets the guy form.
Yeah,
I'm going with 5 for the guy that knows a guy that knows a guy.
I'm going to go with 9 on that.
Oh, wow.
Dude, all I got left is low numbers.
Next,
No, I didn't want to do that.
driving a boat.
Oh, damn. I
6.
put that as a 3.
I'm gonna put 6.
Oh,
Tom, you still remember
7.
how to do that?
No. I had to call a guy I knew one time to bring us fishing.
It all ties in together.
yeah. 7.
Got you,
7,
Tommy.
Tom says.
I'm good with that too.
I'm going to go with 10 on that.
I hadn't fished in so long, I probably don't remember how to drive mine.
Last.
They say it's like riding a bike, right?
Hey, I know some guys that do some fishing if you're ready to come.
Let's go. That's my poison.
Okay, next is skills on a barbecue grill.
Oh,
5.
Yep. 5 for me as well. Damien and I's list are going to be almost identical.
Yep.
3.
How's my skills on a barbecue grill, Damien?
0.
I put that as a 6 for me.
The last time we barbecued at your house, it was good. Oh, you didn't
I don't-
cook. You
I
didn't
did it.
cook.
I just burned
never
everything.
mind. You didn't cook. Damien
I'm going with
cooked.
8
My
on
bad.
that.
I show up to Nick's house, everything's on fire. I'm like, dude, just move. Just move. I got you.
Tommy, what you got on that one?
I'm going to do 3.
I got 8, 9, and 10 left.
I mean, if you're good, it's bragging rights. That's for dang sure.
Yes.
It's a skill.
I'm just scared that frying seafood is going to come next and it'll be hard boiling crawfish.
Next is preparing your house for a hurricane.
Okay, yeah, I'm okay with that being 9 for me.
Yeah.
That's a huge deal.
Yeah, it is.
I'm going 6.
I don't brag about that, though.
But here's the thing. Again, I live in a big Steve house. Well, I built it, so I know.
So he's bragging about it.
Yeah, I don't brag about it. I'm going with what I would do.
Okay, what you got, Casey?
9.
I'm going to be brave 10.
Hey.
I'm going 10 too. I was going to say they do it just out of necessity. They don't brag about it.
I'm going to go with 7 on that.
Might brag about the generator, but you're not bragging about the preparedness, right?
That's right.
You want me to brag now? I got all these little fancy things on my windows. You just put the little rod in.
Okay, we
turn
got-
it, and it's good to go.
We got 2 left. Let's go with boiling crawfish or crabs.
damn it.
I gotta go 8.
I don't boil crawfish.
Damien.
8 because that's all I'm not doing last.
Well,
8. That's all I got left.
I say I don't boil crawfish. I do. I just normally go buy it. So I don't have to mess at the house.
What y'all got?
9.
9?
Do I have 5 left?
You have 6 left, Tommy. 6 and 9.
We have just disrespected crawfish.
Yeah.
Yeah, we dissed it bad.
But you do have your gumbo ahead of your crawfish.
That's more important. Got to have
I'm
the
going to
gumbo.
go with 1 on boiling crawfish.
There you go.
That means the next one's terrible.
Yeah, and all I have
Yeah.
left is 10, so I'm okay with
Got 7.
And the last one is where are we at? Oh, I'm going out of order to. Oh,
Can't even cheat at your own game? What a terrible politician.
the next one is for things every Cajun man claims he's good at: giving unsolicited advice.
Oh,
Yeah.
7. I'm good with that.
I got that as last. That would not have been my last.
No, it wouldn't have been my last one either, but that's okay.
Advice is going to be a 9er for me because that's all I got left.
How good?
That's good for you, huh, Tom?
Yeah, I definitely don't appreciate the unsolicited advice. And unlike you, I don't have to take it.
Yeah, but at least you get paid to give it now, huh?
Yeah, and they still don't fucking listen.
Not usually.
We need to get one of
Nope.
those little things like Tommy does on TikTok, where it just like pops up into his
Yeah.
little.
Get us a little
I could
app.
probably do that.
Hey, I know a guy.
You actually do.
Well, look, my friend, we took 2 hours of your time. This went better than I imagined that it would. I think you did an excellent job. You're more than welcome to come back anytime if you want to come back before the election again. And you've got a seat at the table anytime you want to join.
No, look, I appreciate it. And look, if anytime some questions come up, honestly, I'm an open book. Lafourche Parish government is an open book. We have an open door. You got a question, call the office. We do run around a lot. Now that the legislative session is done, that helps us out a lot. And I say that because when there are bills running through that they need parish presidents as input, we're up there testifying. And we had 3 parish presidents, one of them being me. was testifying recently on a bill that they were running in Department of Natural Resources, and we were talking against it because there was some issues with it, and there are other times we're up there, lobbying for whether it's funding or the like, and there's an association of parish presidents, and I get the great honor of representing Lafourche along with our others, and so we run up there a lot, and we make sure that they know and they hear from us. So I say that to say, call me. I'd love to come back. I want to be that open book. We want Lafourche to be that open book, and maybe we can talk about, coastal, for example. Yes. We've got some coastal projects we're looking. We got some good funding from CPRA that we can talk about. Where are we doing stuff across the parish from a coastal protection perspective? I think that would be fun. Hell, if you want to talk about fishing, whatever, I'm all in. Let me know when you want me to come back. I like doing this.
We would love to have you, man. Look, we thank you so much. Grab some food on the way out. We all got
good. It smells good.
Yeah, we could take a break.
Yeah, we're gonna take a break.
We got a photo op, man. We got to take advantage of this.
Absolutely. Well, look, guys, we're gonna pause for just a second. We're gonna be back. We'll start cutting up, talking about the NBA Finals and everything. We thank President Orgeron for his time. We're gonna hit pause for a minute. We will be back. Hang tight. Thanks so much for listening to the group chat.
Go Tarpons.
The sun was setting low over Cut-Off, Louisiana that evening. The microphones had gone quiet, and the smell of supper hung heavier in the air than a South Louisiana August. Now, Casey, Damien, Nick, and Tommy had made a promise to their audience. A simple promise. They looked their loyal listeners square in the eye and said they'd be back after a quick bite to eat. Just a short intermission, they said. Nothing to worry about. But as history has taught us, a hungry man is capable of many things. And one of those things is forgetting he was ever supposed to come back. Some say Casey got distracted explaining a local political issue for the 17th time. Others believe Damien started talking basketball and lost all track of time. There are reports that Nick wandered off in search of a game nobody asked to play. And Tommy, well, Tommy was probably billing somebody by the hour. Minutes turned into hours. The live stream sat there, waiting, hopeful, confused, alone. The audience refreshed their screens. They checked their notifications. A few even whispered, "Surely they're coming back." But deep down, they already knew. Because on that fateful night, the boys of the group chat didn't return from supper. They didn't sign off. They didn't say goodbye. They simply drove off in attempts to not catch the light at the cut-off bridge, armed with full stomachs and broken promises. And just like that, the episode ended the way many great adventures do. Not with a bang, not with a farewell, but with 4 grown men choosing fried food over professional responsibility. That was the end of this group chat podcast episode.
And as always, go Tarps, and God bless America.
Hammer.
I was waiting for Tommy to chime in and do the